Well, let's see. Do you have to do this clap? All right, we are clapped in. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Tuned In with Jim Cummings. We've got producer Chris here, ladies and gentlemen. You know him, you love him. And today we have a very special treat. James Arnold Taylor. Now, if you're in the industry, you know him better as Jat. I know him better as my buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, all right, thank you.
Yeah. And I am thrilled, as always, to be on a microphone with you.
Oh,
You
same
are,
here.
I've said many times, you are a hero to me, Jim.
Oh,
and your
geez.
work is so expansive, and I aspire to one day be like you.
Oh, Jesus.
So-
Okay, that's it.
So that's
I'm
it.
done.
Thank you and good night. No,
this is a very short one, right to the
very
point,
special, yeah.
going for the gusto.
That's right.
Well, God bless you. Well,
Yeah.
to hear that from you is a blessing. I thank you, my friend.
Thanks, yeah.
I thank you.
It's such a strange little world we have,
Yeah.
where we get
I
into little
know.
padded rooms and talk to ourselves.
I know.
And entertain people. And then we get to go to these shows.
Yeah.
And people say that their lives were affected by what we did. Mm-hmm. And yet mine was affected by your work. Yours was affected by, Mel Blanc and other people's.
Oh, my gosh,
mine
yeah.
was affected by Mel Blanc, Dawes Butler, all
Sure.
these people. And we don't realize that one day we get to now have it flipped over to us
Yeah.
and hear those stories and have people come up and say, like,
Yeah.
that got me through, either the lockdown or it got me through a divorce with my parents or a sibling leaving to college or whatever. And I watched that show and your lines meant something.
I know it. It's so true.
And yet it was, for me, it was that way. Growing up watching, Don Messick and Mel Blanc and all these guys do stuff. And then as I got a little older and I'm like, I want to be a voice actor. I want to do all this. I wanted to do this since I was 4 years old.
Wow,
And
good.
then...
You were ahead of me. I was 5.
He
never
hair.
always
just one under. Yes, I try.
Jesus.
But then watching you and seeing what you were able to accomplish as one guy, that I think, I remember being in a session for Disney once, and I walk in and they're in the middle of a conversation, these directors and casting people, and they're talking about this person, and they're like, and then he just flipped over and did the other one. And they was just having a conversation just on his own. We did it, and we just let it roll, and it was great. And I mean, half of it wasn't even in the script, but we just went ahead. And I'm like, and I'm waiting. And
Who
they're
could
like,
that have been?
And they're like, Jim Cummings is just amazing. And I said,
Thanks.
he is. And
Oh,
so,
man.
yeah,
Well, thank
so-
you for that.
See, this is the whole thing, right? This show, you get to talk to us, but nobody's pumping your ego, so I'm doing my part.
Oh,
now.
look at that. Well, that's amazing. Thank you. God love you.
No, but-
the check is in the mail.
Thanks. Yeah. Okay.
But, yeah, it's, well, while we're on this tear, my old joke about James is that he doesn't do impressions of this one or that one or anything. He's channeling them. I'm pretty sure when you're doing Obi-Wan that Ewan McGregor probably can't speak.
That's very kind.
He cannot speak. And,
just
and
sits
when,
and
when we
nods.
were doing the Christopher Robin,
Yeah.
the movie Christopher Robin, really cool movie, one of my
Yeah.
favorite projects. I remember walking into the studio one day down on the Paramount lot of all places, not Disney, but and Ewan was obviously doing his lines, and when we're looping, and that's when the actor goes back after the fact, and they throw a line like that or something, and so you have to fix it.
Yeah.
You have to loop it to the screen, and you're looking at yourself.
Yep.
Or whoever that would be, and Ewan was fixing his lines, and so I'm sitting there. And, oh, that's great. Yeah, I thought he was over in England still. And the guy goes, no, he lives here. He said he lives here. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't. Where does he live? And I don't know, Burbank or somewhere like that. Ewan McGregor lives in what? Wait, what? And I look, and there's James. He's going. It was you.
It was me fixing.
It was you
Oh.
fixing his lines.
That was
and it was
fun.
seamless. It was seamless.
God bless you, man.
I
Thanks.
mean, it's unbelievable.
With Ewan, it was interesting because I noticed very early on when he would do an American accent, our voices were similar, right? So you know how it is. You clue into people and
Okay.
you go, okay, we have a similar tone. So I mean, same like with Michael J. Fox or David Spade, I have similarities. So I found, okay, if I give myself a British accent, but keep my voice pretty much where I am, then maybe it'll sound like Ewan McGregor. And so it was less of me concentrating on what is Ewan doing? I got to sound exactly like him, and more so kind of relaxing in it. I mean, you're the master of that, where you relax into a character and then the character comes to life. And that's where I remember watching you in Clone Wars with that too, with Hondo. We talked about it at a panel the other day, how you just went, I'm just going to take this and kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
Like you reached a point in your career where you're like, I'm just going to have fun, right? I'm not going to worry about like this person or that. I'm just going to enjoy it.
That's for sure.
And so I thought I can learn from that. I remember I told my wife that. I came home that day and I was like, just watching Jim do that, I was like, I need to relax more. And so I did. And I felt like if I just relax into Obi-Wan and just let it be, then hopefully then you just hear Obi-Wan Kenobi. You don't think about who it is that's doing it. Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Do you find yourself like how Jim said, like even just watching you now, like almost like your face almost looked like Ewan?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that happens, right? Because you picture that person. So like with Michael J. Fox, if I'm doing Michael J. Fox, and if I was going to be talking to Michael J. Fox,
the body language is already right there.
You have to go into that, and then it's and so Jim Cummings. I mean, Jim Cummings is amazing. The way that he does Winnie the Pooh and Tigger too. I think it's great because it makes me want a big thing of honey, and so that's you just become the person.
Yeah, it's true, huh? Yeah, well, there's language and then there's body language.
Yeah, and there's so much to that. And that's the beauty of voiceover, right? Is that people don't get to see that, but we get to do it, and it comes through just in our voice. That's the amazing thing about it. You've always also been very much an advocate of saying, we are character actors. We're not we're not voice actors. We're not people that do little voices. We are character actors that happen to be just in little rooms on mics, creating the characters rather than on camera.
That's right.
And so we put just as much into it. And that's, I think, the beautiful thing about the audiences that we get to see at the Comic-Cons now and the people that come out to see voiceover because they appreciate the fact that it's the same thing. It's all just acting, and it's development of character.
That's true. And, speaking of these Comic-Cons, I get this a lot. And James has a picture that, and we sign autographs.
Sure,
we have people of different characters, on and on. And James has a picture where he's, I think there's 3 of you like right in the middle of his actual self. And then 4,000 other characters, other little cartoon guy. Oh, I know that dude. Oh, he was this guy? I didn't know you were that dude.
Well,
everybody.
That's the other thing, like Billy West and yourself and people that can do so many different voices, but are rather unassuming. Like we don't. So I'm 5'4", I'm 120 pounds soaking wet. It's like you don't expect Fred Flintstone to come out of the.
That's right. I know.
Or I was Andre the Giant's voice double for a Princess Bride video game.
And I went in, and anybody want a peanut? My way is not so sportsmanlike. You just don't expect that to come out of me.
And so I walked in, and the director.
No, you don't.
Wait a second. We need not, But that's kind of and that was like talking to Billy West. We were in a table read for a thing.
Oh, that's
and Billy's
priceless.
like, you can find these like little crevices in your voice, in your mouth, and you can go down again. And I'm like, oh yeah. When I was a kid, I started in radio. When I was 16, 17, I went into the local radio station.
And that was probably in Santa Barbara.
In Santa Barbara, California. I was born and raised in Santa Barbara. And I walked into the local radio station and said, how do you get into radio? Because I wanted to do this stuff.
And they said, well, you're in. This is a radio station. Congratulations.
And I started sweeping up. And so what I would do is I would watch the DJs. And I would be like, can I go in and watch you? And so I'm a mimic in every way, shape, and form. So I just watch people. I see what they do. I pick up on it. I study it. I try not to steal it. I try to then go, okay, that's what they're doing. Now, how can I apply that to what I do?
Yeah, sure.
And so you and Billy and Jess and Rob and Mo, Maurice LaMarche and I go back so many years. And we used to hang out in a cigar shop together, of all places.
Oh, wow.
And I would just, watch how you all do what you do. And I love it because it's comfort to me. Because I was a latchkey kid. I was raised by the television. I'm a single mom raising 3 kids, and my brother and sister are quite 5 and 6 years older than me, so they were off doing their thing. And the TV raised me. So I watched cartoons and movies, and then I just repeat the characters. So yeah.
Me too. I still can't do a good Zorro though. even though he was my hero back then.
Oh, well, you could do
Showing
like
my
a
age.
good Antonio Banderas or.
Oh, well, that could be. Yeah,
I could hear that
I'd
in
have
you.
to.
Yes, hello, I am Zorro.
Yeah. Well, I can't do Catherine Zeta-Jones.
No,
But I digress.
He was very vigorous. That was her line. Sorry.
Yeah, and Anthony Hopkins was the perfect
Yeah.
guy for that. I mean,
That was
this
pretty
British guy. What the hell? Where did he come from? Anyway, that's right. But I just get a kick out of seeing that. In fact, maybe we'll have to find your headshot
the
and
headshot. I
flash
can
it up
send you
during
a
some
thing, you can
point.
put it
We'll
on there or
insert it
something like
later, and everybody you can go. I know that too, but
Well,
look.
And a lot of them are doubling for people. So, you know, I've been a voice double for many years for people. So everybody from, as we said, Michael J. Fox or Ewan McGregor to Jay Baruchel. So Jay Baruchel and How to
Oh,
Train Your
yeah.
Dragon.
I was gonna ask you, who else?
I do Hiccup. And then Christopher Mintz-Plasse is Fish Legs in that. So I do both Fish Legs and Hiccup for them. And the funny thing is I've actually, I mean, you know how this is. I've voiced more of those characters than they have because I'll do all the scratch for the movies and things and the shows.
wow, yeah.
And then I'll do all the games and the toys and the attractions.
That's true. Yeah.
And then they come in and do the movies.
Oh, the
You know,
ancillary
they'll do
stuff.
a TV show or something. So I've been these characters for so many years. So I put them on my thing, but I always try to explain to people, well, you know, they're them in the movie. Or Justin Timberlake, I was double for Branch for Trolls.
Oh.
And then for Shrek, I was Arthur. And then
Oh wow.
Rupert Everett, Prince Charming. I was because I'm charming, you see, which is almost like Obi-Wan with an attitude, you know.
Yeah. You know,
And-
with a big head.
Yeah. And Michael J. Fox. And then Great Scott, I did Christopher Lloyd, Dr. Emmett Brown in the Back to the Future video game. 1.21 gigawatts, you know, and then a lot of just characters that are like the subtle ones. Those are the ones that are the hardest. I don't know how it
I
is for you.
agree.
People say, what's the trickiest voice? You know, is Fred Flintstone the hardest because it's so big?
Yeah. No.
No, Michael J. Fox is tricky. David Spade is tricky. You know, Cusco. Cusco
always
says,
thought-
no touchy, no touchy.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But it's because it's just a variation of my voice. So those ones I find. Ron Howard. I did Ron Howard's voice for Arrested Development.
Wow. Okay.
And so Ron
I mean,
Howard
I can hear
is-
it, but I can't.
It's right there. It's like, you know, so if you go, hey, Fonz, you know, that whole thing.
Wow. Yes.
So it's very much
Wowee,
just
that's
pretty much
great.
me with a little more folk and
Yeah.
rolled over a little, you know, and
Yeah.
Christian Slater. So if you're doing Christian Slater, it's just basically like almost Jack Nicholson. Who Jack Nicholson is just.
I thought he was doing. Jack Nicholson,
basically
the very
he was
first
just
one.
Nurse Ratchet. You know, how about a
You
chicken
and me
salad
got something in common.
yeah.
That is. I always thought that. That is too crazy. But all of those guys, geez, oh man.
Yeah,
That's-
it's fun.
That's wonderful.
It's fun to have the agents call and go, do you think you can get this? And I usually, I'll know by
I can't imagine them going, do you think you can get this? They go, okay, here's what we need.
Well-
and then James goes, meep, meep.
Yeah, how
And it
long
comes
does
out.
it for both of you? Because you've both obviously you've done voice matching as well. When you get asked that question, how long would you say it takes you to like find that somebody else's voice in your own?
It depends on the person, but usually it's relatively quick. Like Johnny Depp. So I've been Johnny Depp's voice double for 20 years for things.
Wow.
But Johnny Depp is a chameleon, right? So his regular speaking voice is probably right about there, you know. And he's got that little affected, almost
Yes.
British thing going on.
Yes, he does.
But then he was Captain Jack Sparrow. Why's the rum gone? You know, you do that. And so I was Captain Jack for many years. And then Willy Wonka. And Willy Wonka was chewing gum is really gross. Chewing gum I hate the most. Which was basically Mr. Rogers meets Niles on Frasier. You know, Frasier, he was right there, you know, David Hyde Pierce. And so I would take a little David Hyde Pierce and a little Mr. Rogers, and that was my Johnny Depp. Willy Wonka. And so we were doing the video game for the Willy Wonka stuff, and there was 2 games, 6-hour sessions each, and they gave me 17 seconds of his dialogue to match him on. So that was one of
perfect.
those things where it was like, here's 17 seconds, listen to that, because they were so secretive about the movie.
And that was the blueprint.
They didn't want me, and so
that was your DNA.
that was
so to
all I
speak.
could do. And so Colette Sunderman and I sat there and we dissected those 17 seconds. Okay, he goes up here, he goes down there, all right, over here. And then you have 6 hours of dialogue to fill in. And then, no pressure, they said, Johnny
Yeah,
Depp asked
no
for your
pressure.
cell phone number. He wants to call you if he hears that it's not matching, so he can help you through that, which was nice.
Yeah.
But I never got a call. Much
And now
to my
you
wife's
crank
chagrin.
call in all the time,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And I did get to work with him once, though, on an attraction at Disney. It's not there anymore, which is a drag.
Which
It was a really cool one. It was called The Legend of Jack Sparrow, and it was it was more of a you walk in and it was an experience. I was the voice of the skull. So if you go to like Pirates of the Caribbean, dead men tell no tales.
Yeah.
I do all of those.
Oh,
there.
that's cool.
But,
I didn't know that.
I'm the skull in this attraction, and it was Captain Jack, so it was just a salty
Sure,
kind
sure,
of
sure.
character there. Yes, the Black Pearl be there, Jack. And he was on stage, so I spent the day with him. He was on a green screen. I was up on a scaffold with a headset on, so I could give him his eye line, right? So so he could talk to me, and he's throwing bottles at me and shooting guns, and it was really a wild experience. I mean,
No
that's
kidding.
the coolest thing that we get, these weird,
Yeah.
wacky experiences that nobody else gets from being voice actors.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, well, I end up in some strange ones here and there. I remember Tom Kenny and I had to sit together when we were doing this cat dog thing, and it was a live cat dog. I can't even explain it to you how the hell they did it, but there was certain chunks of animation that they had pre-done, and cat dog were going to be judges on a game show, and it was kind of a Nickelodeon game show.
Sure.
And the kids are coming up on stage, and and I was being cat, and Tom was being dog, and it was we're kind of just ad libbing and everything, and then the screen would be like a little bit, hello, hey, look out, and so it was.
New technology.
Yeah.
Welcome to the future.
It was, and it was not perfect, but everybody had a good time. So yeah, I know what you mean.
And now they could, right?
Yeah.
Just put a little
Probably
camera
so, yeah.
on you and motion cap and do all
Yeah,
of that.
that's true.
When we do, video games Ratchet and Clank, which is great because
They're actually a what?
Ratchet and Clank is the game. I'm Ratchet.
Oh.
And Ratchet is a Lombax. I know I'm speaking other languages here. And we've 20 years now, I've done Ratchet and Clank and 19 different games. And the last game, I did it with a beanie on and microphones on my head, so I could just move around. And the mic, I didn't have to worry about playing right here. But I was just in my booth. We did it at home because it was during COVID.
Oh.
But I could jump around and do the whole thing. And so it wasn't mocap, but it was recorded like mocap. And I'm noticing they're starting to do that more with some of the
Interesting.
games. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
To give it that kind of acted feel, or more, reactions to it all.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, that's probably like what your dad does. With,
Yeah, well, they do the full-on motion
full-
capture. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
full
yeah.
blown.
Yeah.
Full blown.
God of War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Chris
yeah.
Judge. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, that is so awesome.
Yeah, and he's like rolling around and fighting. and-
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they have they call it the volume or the void.
Yeah, the volume. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a big playground for adults. They got the props and everything. It's fascinating stuff. I love going to watch them record. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's just like,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That too. Yeah, we The Mandalorian was like the first set to have that volume, that full encapsulated, LED screen volume stage. It's a giant circle. Even the ceiling is screens. And Sam Witwer and I, Darth Maul, Obi-Wan and Darth Maul got to go to the volume stage for season 2's last episode of The Mandalorian. We got to sit and watch it all. And they said, when we were in there, they didn't have the screens on, but they said that actors will sometimes walk into the wall because it's so deceptive.
Dang.
Like
I
you
would
don't
think.
know, you think it looks like a desert scape.
Yeah,
and you're
right,
just
right,
walking,
right.
and then all of a sudden, boom, you're in a wall. So that, and on top of the way that they do these video games and stuff now too, I'm imagining they'll blend it all together and make it very immersive. in
yeah.
that.
Well, I remember when we were doing Christopher Robin, they were also working on the Jungle Book.
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the one with Bill Murray was
Yeah.
Baloo, and the only person in the movie was the young boy, was Mowgli. And they showed, would you like to see a picture of the set? And I go, sure. And this little kid, bless his heart, he's standing out there. He's like 100 yards out there, and everything's green. The entire universe is green. And there's this one little boy standing there going,
Oh, man.
and cute as can be. And then they go, and here's what it looks like. Poof. All of a sudden, they're in the middle of India in the rainforest, and there are snakes on trees and
Yeah.
the vines, and it's it might as well be magic.
Yeah, it really is.
You
And
know.
who would have thought when we were kids that we'd be at this point?
Yeah.
And love it and hate it, I guess, is
Yeah.
kind of the thing, because some of it
Yeah.
scares me, if I'm being honest. The fact that people can do the AI with our voices and stuff now, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
What do you
part-
think about that? What's
I got to be honest, I'm not a fan.
no. Ditto.
Because
Ditto.
I do think that, so I'm an artist, I paint and such. And,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of AI art. And I have friends that are artists that use it in their art. And I think, okay, that's fine. But there's something about the soul, right?
Yeah. Even the imperfections work.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that people get that still you need a little bit of that soul. You need those mouth clicks.
yeah.
You need those breaths. You need that
Yes.
sincerity of, the actor making choices on the fly in their head.
Yes.
That sometimes comes up with the most brilliant things, I mean, again, what
Absolutely.
you did with Hondo, on the fly, you couldn't program a computer to do that. And hopefully they never
Hopefully,
can.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're knocking on some
Yes.
wood here as we
You-
speak.
We were talking about Hondo the other day at the attraction, the Millennium Falcon ride. I don't know if you know. So there's the two rides at Galaxy's Edge. You've got the Smuggler's Run, and then you've got Rise of the Resistance. And so you and I are like the two voice actors that get
Yeah.
to, because I'm Lieutenant Beck on Rise of the
Oh,
Resistance.
okay.
So on the other ride. So Lieutenant Beck is a Mon Calamari, and he sounds like this. He was kind of my tribute to John Hurt. I loved the actor
Oh,
John Hurt.
yes.
And I was his voice double for many years on different things, from Hellboy to
Elephant
he
Elephant Man?
played the Elephant Man and
Yeah,
such.
yeah.
Yeah. But he had that wonderful voice, right? That
Yes,
British voice, with
yes.
that wonderful texture. And so,
Yeah,
you
boy,
know,
God,
yeah.
you sound just like him. My God.
And so when they showed me the character, it was very similar to what you were talking about the other day, of where they're like, well, we don't know if this is going to go or not, right? Disney's playing it cool. Like,
Right.
well, maybe
Yeah,
we'll use
I
this.
know.
Maybe we
They
won't.
drive me nuts.
And it was like that, where they said, well, you're just going
We're
to
not
scratch this and
sure.
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
And so we developed this character. And then, of course, 3 years later, they're like, well, of course, we love it. And this is great. And,
Yeah.
you're Lieutenant Beck.
That's what we planned it all along.
Yeah. And it was a lot of years of recording. But then to go on that ride, and those two animatronics are the two most advanced animatronics on the planet. Hondo and Lieutenant Beck.
I'll buy that. Yeah.
So it's you and me, bro.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
pretty cool.
That is pretty tasty. Yeah, I remember, I think we talked about it on panel the other day. I remember, can't recommend these rides enough, too,
Yes, that's
by the way.
right.
And if there's merchandise, buy some, because we get all that money.
Oh, sure.
Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. No, we
No,
don't get
no,
anything.
no, we don't get anything.
I knew it was one or the other.
We got paid.
We got paid, and boy, we're done. But they're just amazing. And I remember the first time seeing, Hondo, Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run. And I thought, oh, that looks amazing. And then he turned around and walked over and started talking to everybody and went,
Right. It's
then
fantastic.
it gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, it's so fluid, because also he'd only lived in animation. So to see Hondo, it wasn't like we had
casting a shadow and hearing his feet clump
there he
on the
was,
floor.
and his hands, and
Yeah.
they got all of those little fluid
he's doing
movements
all that.
that you put into the voice, because he's a very fluid character from
Ooh,
what
yeah.
you did. Was there anyone in particular in your head when you started that?
Well, I remember, I think we've touched on this before on the podcast and different venues, but I always thought that if you do a perfect impression of somebody, like John Wayne, I don't know, that's fine, because you never know, you might be able to use it. And then if you do a terrible impression of someone famous, nobody even knows who it is. Who the hell is that? That's good, because you have a new character.
Yes, exactly.
And so so there's that. And then also over the years I've just developed this sort of idea of doing half an impression of this person, half an impression,
That's
and putting them
exactly right.
together.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Yeah. And Hondo Ohnaka is Yul Brynner and Charles Bronson. Now, if those
that
two
is
had a kid,
awesome.
he would probably look as good looking as Hondo. Probably look exactly like Hondo.
Oh, that is
And it would
wild.
sound like him, but because Moses, the Israelites, and then What are you doing? I'm Charles Bronson. You know, that was a
That's it.
bad
That is
Charles
it.
Bronson. And the next thing you know, you come up and there is Hondo. and he's, but tell no one of
That's right, yeah.
this information.
Well, and then so one day Dave Filoni, the illustrious man
The
behind
guru.
Clone Wars, calls me up and says, James, what would an alien Christopher Walken sound like as an alien?
And so I gave him variations of Chris Walken and said, he could be like this, it'd be good.
And he said, okay, pull it back, do a little this, do that. So I combined
Al Pacino. So you take a little Al Pacino and you take a little Christopher Walken and you get Osi Sobek.
who was in the Citadel episodes and he was going after Obi-Wan and all these guys.
And your Jedi resolve will get you nowhere. And so you stretch the words the way Chris Walken would.
Yeah.
But you do the Al Pacino, And so,
With the gruff grunting.
And
sort
Al
of.
Pacino's one of those voices too, right? That in the beginning, he was there. The Godfather, he was there.
Well, yeah.
And now he's become like Jim Ignatowski from Taxi.
Yeah.
It's like, what's
It's
happened?
true, yeah. Oh, man, yeah.
kind of
And
funny.
Justice for All. What was his line?
Yeah.
And
You're
there's
right.
yeah, there was something like that. Oh, God.
Attica, all
those. Yeah,
and then
okay.
Scarface.
Scarface.
Forget it.
Okay.
Then you don't know
You're
what
gonna
you're
do
doing.
this voice, okay? Come on, baby.
Okay,
You
baby.
look good tonight, baby. Okay.
Yeah.
My wife hates when I do that.
So what's for dinner tonight, huh, sweetie? Okay.
Sorry, yeah, and I don't know if that's on PC to do now. I don't know, but he was doing
I
a great
think it's
character.
too late.
But yeah, too late. It's done. So
Too late,
yeah.
it's done.
Yeah, there's so many fun voices. I think that's if you stay in the frame of what can I create here, then you're limitless. When young people come to the table and they go, "I want to be a voice actor," and all this. The first
Now,
question,
what is your advice to
well,
them?
my first question to them now is, do you like the sound of your own voice? And most of them go, well,
Yeah.
because what happens, right? We all have these devices now. We can record
Yeah.
ourselves, we can hear ourselves. And then you go, because the second you hear yourself for the first time, you go, that's me?
Yeah.
No, I don't-
Okay. You too, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
right?
That's how it was for
Because
me.
our head is a bass cabinet.
Yeah.
So our head is hearing us much big. So, all of us, well, you already have this beautiful, wonderful, big, deep voice there, But I'm hearing myself down here, right? But you're all hearing me, Michael J. Fox on helium,
Yeah.
And so I've gotten used to it now from years of wearing headphones. So I asked him, if you don't like the sound of your own voice, how can you do all these characters that you want to do? You have to love the bass. Because if you got the bass, or the bass voice, if
Yeah.
you at least can tolerate that, you can do more. But if you're
if you can at least tolerate that,
if you're
that's good.
sitting there going, oh, I don't like, then you can't.
Yeah.
You can't
You'll
become
be stifled.
all these things. So it's not that I love my own voice. I'm just, I'm in
Well,
like
it's
with it.
okay because everyone else does.
Right. No. But I accept my own voice.
Sure,
right?
sure.
And now that allows me to take it and do more with it. Throw an accent on it, or add some texture to it, or bring it down, or bring it up, or wherever, and just let it be fun.
Yeah. And James does this thing, folks, that it's truly nothing less than spectacular. And he goes through and he walks all around through. I can't even name. Do you even know how many?
It's about 127 voices.
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
5 minutes. It's the end of. So I have a one-man stage show. I do.
Yeah, and it's mind-boggling.
Oh, well, thank you. You're very
Could
kind.
could I prevail upon you to give us a smackerel of it?
So yeah,
will-
all voices are tones. So
Yeah.
basically, all are kind of connected, and that's what people ask me: how do you come up with characters and how do you do them? And I'm no genius at it. I have a pretty decent ear.
But you got a good ear.
I've got a good ear, and I've been blessed.
By the
with
way,
some
yes,
good
you are
chords,
a genius. At it.
No.
Just for the record.
And so, because not all of them are always perfect, but I try to give that example of, so if you start with my regular voice,
Yeah.
and you take that and you go, well, what is that similar to? So if I bring it a little more nasal, then you got Michael J. Fox. Well, wait a second, Doc. But if you take Michael J. Fox's voice and you drop it down here, you get Shia LaBeouf, right? So if you bring it back up and you're a little more nasal again, but a little less interested, now it's David Spade. You move it over here into the front of your mouth, you get Christian Slater. Who, if you bring back over here, it's Jay Baruchel. And you bring that down, then it's Albert Brooks. This is a no-win situation. You've never heard of a no-win situation? Vietnam, this. It's kind of like Paul Reiser. You know, if you take Paul Reiser, you do that.
Yeah.
Very similar. You know,
Yeah.
who are these people? Zoinks! Like, no, you got Shaggy. You know, you just go on and on and on.
Oh my God.
That's
Taking it and
amazing.
moving around.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
And they all just appear, and on the inside of my forehead, I'm seeing them. There he is. Ooh,
Yeah.
there he is. You know, it's
started
amazing.
when I was a kid developing my stand-up act, and when I would see it started with Christian Slater and Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
well
I
yeah.
thought that they're very similar.
I thought,
It's him
yeah, I
there.
thought so too.
And then I thought, well,
What if you bring Jack up here, and then where do you take it from there? You bring it back down, and you give it a whisper, and now it's Jack Palance,
Yeah.
you know, and then you bring it back up, and it's Clint Eastwood, you know, and
so you just move it around. It's just variations.
You go from Christopher Walken to Yogi Bear, you know, it's, you know,
It's like they're all connected.
Wow.
And so
yeah. So yeah, that's a gift in and of itself. That ear of yours.
you know, I guess as the other thing is that people say I'm able to switch fast. And
Yeah.
a lot of people will have to like kind of work into a character.
Sure.
But that's just one little, again, I always just say I'm a parlor trick. You know, I mean, God bless me with that ability to be a parlor trick in that. I pull my string and I'll just go.
That's why you're wearing that jacket, because
That's it.
you can't see the string with the little.
I pull at the beginning of this and no. But I'm just very blessed to
Yeah.
do what I always wanted to do. God's
Yeah.
been very good to me in that. And yeah, I just say a prayer of thanks because it's not easy to get into anymore, this business, you know, although everybody wants to do it.
Right.
And
I'm sure you get people coming up to you saying, how can I be you? How can I?
Yeah. And I think the funny thing about that is people always think we have the answer for that. We
Yeah.
don't know. The casting people, the directors, those are the people that would know better than
Yeah.
us. We're just the lucky guys that
Yeah.
got hired, I guess, you know?
Yeah. Well, I always tell them, I said, well, I wish I could tell you how I be in a play. Go be
Yeah,
in plays,
just
be
start
in lots,
performing.
just right in your local community theater. And you know, if you're a 14-year-old boy, don't be the prince. Don't try out for the prince.
Right.
Try out for the troll that lives under the bridge.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and because he's not going to sound like the prince, because you're already the prince. You're a 14-year-old cute kid, or you know, you're
And
gonna.
you can steal the show as the
Yeah,
troll.
yeah.
And then people go, remember the kid and he was the troll, he was fantastic. And then boom, all of
Yeah.
a sudden it comes to life. And those inhibitions go away too, as we're
Yes.
talking about. And yeah, so I always say to people like, get Dr. Seuss, get comic books, start reading them out loud, walk around the house alone reading these out loud because you got to get used to it and then record it and hear it. You know, I always think about Andrea Romano saying, you know, with the casting, they'd listen to about 10 seconds of a demo before they make up their decision.
Yeah,
you know?
that's right. So you better get them quick.
So yeah, get those voices
Yeah.
good. Don't do ones that are too far away. Don't hurt yourself. That's the
Yeah.
other thing. Everybody wants to have this range. That they want a Jim Cummings range. You know, they want a Billy West range, D. Bradley Baker range, and it's like that's not what it's about. There's so many wonderful, talented voice actors that have one or two voices
Yeah,
and have a great career.
yeah.
So
Well, I remember, you know, the great Lorenzo Music. He's been gone for
man.
years now.
Yeah.
But you'd remember him as the original Garfield.
yep, and Carlton,
And,
your doorman.
Carlton the doorman, and he was Tummy Gummy, and his joke was, "I'm gonna do a medley of my greatest voice. This is it."
It was.
And that was it. That was it. And he had this great career.
It was such a beautiful voice, and that I'll tell you, watching like Rhoda, was it? He was the doorman.
oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
You only
that's
saw
right.
his hand, or he was on the intercom. You never saw him,
Never saw him.
and that created such a mystery for me as a kid.
Right.
This is Carlton, your doorman.
I
Yeah.
won't even attempt to.
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah.
But he had such a unique voice.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you couldn't tell how old he was.
no,
That was the
Yeah.
thing too.
timeless, ageless. So
Yeah.
that's what I try to say to people: is just really enjoy what you do, because everybody wants to kind of come up to you and do you. Everybody wants to walk up to you and do
Oh
Winnie the
yeah.
Pooh.
Yeah. I'm sure you get that.
I get hello
I
there.
Get that
You know,
all the
everybody
time,
comes up
yeah.
and says hello there, hello there, hello there.
Yeah.
Which is great. You know, it's nice because at least with hello there, it's when everybody, you know, you would say it naturally anyways, and it makes
Yeah.
people smile.
Yeah.
I love, you know, going to the shows and making people smile and laugh and do the voices for them, especially when the little kids come up
Oh yeah.
and the parents are there and the kid's kind of shy, and you
Yeah.
just start doing a few voices and then it clicks. and then they get
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've confused a couple of kids. You know, they'll have a Winnie the Pooh doll, and I'll just do some. Hello there. Are you as sweet as honey? And the kid goes,
Because that tone,
You know?
the real tone is embedded in their head. Your
Yeah.
voice is embedded in their head already.
well, yeah,
right? So
yeah.
when they hear it live like that, that's
Yeah, it's a little jarring.
that's the fun part. Like I'll be talking to people as I'm signing. Yeah, so I hope you stay on the light side of the force, and they go.
Yes.
They'll go.
And they
It's so weird. You
"Are
sound just
sure?"
like him.
Yeah. Oh, that's my favorite. You sound just like him. Swear to God.
I remember
You
you
know.
told me a story once. You were at at a store, and somebody was looking at a gift card, a Winnie the Pooh
yeah,
gift
gift
card.
cards, yeah.
And you did the voice, and the woman was like,
Yeah, she goes,
"You sound just like
you
him."
sound just like him.
If she only knew.
Yeah, and I just let it go. I didn't.
That is so fun. Yeah. We have, I think, one of the coolest jobs in the world because we get to do this, and then it's nice now. I love the fact that people would recognize you walking down the street because you've earned that, Jim. You've been such a huge part of so many people's lives in so many different things. I love that people would go, "That's Jim Cummings." That to me is such a great thing for you and for Frank Welker or Rob Paulson or all the greats right now.
And you.
But for me,
no
I get to go
doubt
to
about
Comic Cons, and for little moments, I get to be a rock star, which
Yeah,
is
that's
pretty
right.
fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Well, I always say that when it comes to voice actors, you don't get famous, but your characters do.
Yeah.
You're famous sort of by proxy. I
Yeah.
don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Something?
I think absolutely. Well, it's kind of like that expression that they say at Disney, right? You're a friend of, or what is it? Is that what they say? Yeah. Friends with. Jim is friends with Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That's
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Wink, wink. And so it's neat. I have lately. I've been getting into doing some on-camera work. I don't know if I
wow.
told you. So, and I wrote.
Tell us more.
I wrote and directed and shot a movie all on my own.
Wow.
With a buddy of mine, and it was literally a two-man crew. And much like what you have here, we set up the cameras and we did our thing on a script I wrote a few years ago, and we just finished making the movie, and we've been winning some film festivals. And
You've been winning?
yeah, winning film festivals, and we just got a distribution deal, and the movie's going to be a worldwide distribution deal, so it'll be out there, I think, around the holidays. But
I'm waiting to hear the title.
It's called Hidden Blessings. Hidden Blessings, and
Hidden Blessings.
It's shot as a documentary, which was I was like, how do I make a movie on the cheap with no budget? I'll shoot it as a documentary. So it's not a real documentary, but it's we play characters like Spinal Tap or Waiting for Guffman. or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not a comedy. It's a drama, and so and it's about a painter, and so I did all the paintings in it, and it kind of what happens is this young girl inherits a painting by this famous reclusive artist. And she reaches out to him and he says, "Yeah, why don't you come interview me?" Which has never happened before. And then she's questioning whether or not this man is her father. And there's this kind of mystery behind her whole upbringing, which is based
kind
on...
of hooked right now.
Yeah, which is based on... I don't know if I've ever told you this. So, when I was 42, I found out who my real father was. I never knew my real dad. And I thought one person was my father my whole life, and it turned out I was wrong. And the crazy part is my real dad did what I do for a living. He worked in radio, and he was a TV host, and he had his own ad agency, and was a voice actor.
Wow.
And he wasn't anybody famous.
What are the odds of that?
But he was 5'4" and looked a lot like me, and I think probably sounded like me. I've never really heard his voice. I've tried to track down recordings, but so I wrote some of that kind of into this movie.
That's fascinating.
That is fascinating.
I went off on a tangent there, but yes,
very
the movie-
poignant. God bless. That's
yeah,
wonderful.
and it's a faith-based movie, and so it kind of tells the story of the prodigal son. So because that story has always been kind of wrapped around in my head.
Yes.
So that's coming out, and then I've been getting to do some other little movies, which has been fun.
Wow.
Yeah. Have you now?
That's
I mean,
wonderful.
you do some on camera, but do you ever get
Very
the bug?
rarely.
Do you get the
Yeah.
bug ever to want to do it?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Sitting in
Nobody
in
wants to
trailers
see
all
this.
day. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
It is. It's a very different world, and that's why I'll circle it back around to voiceover.
Yeah.
Is in this last year doing these movies, I've found you sit around a lot, and then you go. This is not like where VO where we go in.
Right.
We
Yeah.
get
You go
we
in,
do it,
you get it, and get
and then
out.
But yeah, so in that regard, I don't love it as much as voiceover.
Right.
But it's
well, Chris would know. You've done your share.
Yeah.
More
yeah.
to come, of course.
Yeah, I prefer theater for that reason.
Yeah.
Theater feels a lot more alive and, like a pulse.
And you instantly get that reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
there is a
agree.
lot of sitting around on set, like an excruciating amount
Yeah.
of sitting around. I had this one scene in a show called The 100.
Oh, yeah.
And it was my death scene, and there
Oh.
was like an alien, like worm, like almost like aliens,
Oh,
that
my
comes.
word.
So I had this like big prosthetic stomach, so they would make it like undulate and everything like this, and I'm screaming, and everybody's holding me down on the table, and because of the rig that they had me rigged up in, I was in that thing. It was such a pain in the ass to get in and out of that. Like I was in it for 4 hours.
Oh, my word.
And then they said, okay, we're going to take like a, 15, 30-minute break, let's get you out and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, can I just stay in this?
Yeah.
Like, I'll just like hack it out because I'd rather just not
go
go
to
through that,
lunch.
getting out and getting back in.
Yeah.
And they were like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, like if it saves me like 45 minutes of my
Yeah.
day, so I can leave earlier in the
Yes.
day, let's do that. I ended up being in that rig for 8 hours.
Oh, my word.
I was in that rig for 8 hours, and I was positioned
position.
like,
Oh,
perfect.
no.
like my legs were like down.
Yeah,
It
because
was
they're
this
kinda
low
hidden,
chair.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
And then everything else was up here, so it was my torso up here, but then underneath the table was
No,
all
thank
hidden.
you. Yeah.
8 hours in that thing,
Wow.
and just
Fun.
like I was like delirious afterwards, and like 8 hours of screaming and
doing that. Oh, wow. Yeah.
struggling,
And then for a couple of days afterwards, you're feeling that, I'm sure.
oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that I mean, the worst case scenario for us is voiceover. I remember doing commercials for Del Taco years ago, and we went to an actual Del Taco. It was one of those things where it's on camera, but you're doing voiceover, but they want you there. I mean, you did that with like Who
yeah.
Framed Roger Rabbit and
A
stuff,
few-
right?
Yes.
different stuff.
I was just thinking of that.
Yeah, and so they put me in a broom closet, and I was literally like, was shoved in a broom closet with a microphone kind of right there, and it was like, maybe 3 hours, and I'm thinking, this is like a really padded room, but that was like the closest I could get to for that, but it was still just like, I was uninhibited, I was still in the room, but I was supposed to be the person in the car ordering. So like it was that kind of thing, but I thought,
God.
this is why I do voiceover, so I don't have to go and do all of that.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, we were doing Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that was the first thing I ever did. And I was a few of the weasels,
Yeah.
and they all ended up getting cut. And poor Bob Hoskins, rest his soul, great guy, cool guy, sat and talked to him hours and hours. And he was stuck in this costume that had a hidden zipper up the back. And I don't even think a shot made it in the movie. But anyway, he was
tied up or
He was
something?
tied up in like 40 rolls of masking tape. 40 or 50 rolls of and he was just like a big gigantic ball.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there. And then, well, I'll tell you, this is not the most comfortable bloody thing I've ever done in my life, mate. I think you got the good end of this deal.
Yeah, at that point,
And,
you're happy you're doing voiceover. Yeah.
That's when you're really happy. Now, you've been in there a long time. He goes, yeah, you fucking know, you goddamn right.
Now, I remember we've talked about this before, but how cool was it for you to have be in a credit? You weren't you like above Frank Sinatra?
Yes,
credits?
in that movie.
Yeah.
In Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yeah, it's just, and it goes, Jim Gallant, Jim Cummings, Frank Sinatra, and I went, come on,
You've made it.
come on, yeah, and it was it might have been the second audition I ever had.
Is that right? Wow.
Dang.
And I was so naive. The first, I've said this before, I don't want to repeat myself, but the first audition I ever got, they used the audition. And it was for a toy fair. It was no big deal. It was
Okay.
like a Mattel. I was the voice of a haunted house. And I thought, wait, and my agent calls me up and goes, well, you got the job. I said, oh, that's great. When do we record? She goes, they're using the audition. I went,
You're like, wah, wah.
whoa, you
No.
kid. And of course, ask me how many times that's happened since then.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
That was it.
Oh man, that. So Don Messick, who of course was
Great.
legendary,
God bless him.
Scooby Doo and Papa Smurf and Boo Boo Bear and Mr. Ranger. And
Oh, yeah.
Race Bannon.
He sounded like my childhood.
Yeah.
Just talking to him, I was 8.
Oh man,
You know,
It was-
he was a sweet, sweet man.
amazing. And so when I was starting out in radio as a kid, and it was I was 19, they called me up one day. They said, you got to go to this studio in a house in Montecito. It's a home studio, and you're going to be a young house with new shingles, and there's a gentleman there that's going to be the older house with the old shingles, Don Messick. And I'm like, because I knew exactly. So I got to go to Don Messick's house. I got to go in and record in his home
With
studio
Don Messick
with Don
in his
Messick.
studio. Oh, my gosh.
And that was life-changing for me. But that was that first one there too, where it's like,
Yeah.
that was one of my very first big jobs.
How cool is
and
that?
It was very cool. And he was kind enough to take me to breakfast at one point, and I got to pick his brain and just talk to him about voiceover and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
He and Dawes Butler were it.
Yeah.
They were it. They were Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's unbelievable. And the building's not even there anymore, which broke my heart.
Yeah, I remember he told me this story. They were auditioning for Droopy Dog,
Mm-hmm.
and he said they were bringing everybody in and all this, and he goes in and they play him this audio. They go, "Do you think you can sound like that?" He goes, "Yeah, that's me."
Yeah.
So the audio they were playing was him. He was originally Droopy
Yeah,
Dog.
oh, my
And so,
God.
yes.
Fourth floor, clocks, socks, bagels, and locks. Watch your step.
Yes. I always
Yeah,
had to cheat.
Would you do that? Yes.
Yeah.
That is a way. Yeah.
Well, it's like Jeff Bennett, right? With
Yeah.
one of the voices there for
Oh, right.
Disney, right? Or Shmi,
It was for Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid, yeah, where he would
Yeah.
he said like hours
Yes.
of pulling on his cheeks.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
it's
I
the
remember
only
that.
way he could get the voice right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It had that sound.
it's
Oof.
not like being in a prosthetic thing, but
Hey,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty close though. That's
Yeah,
that's pretty
that's
grueling
pretty rough,
to do that
yeah.
for that long.
Yeah, at the end you're going, ha, ha,
Well, should we wrap up here?
ha. I think so.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Before we go, can we do a quick
wait.
little? There's a game that we play. It's a voice swap game.
Okay.
So Jim will do
Yes.
a line of one of his famous characters.
Okay.
And then we'd love for you to mimic the line, but in one of your famous characters.
Okay.
And then we'll switch back and
And
forth.
then we switch back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
How
you
about
give
that?
me one.
All right. Okay. Very good.
Okay, so I'll let you get something in your head.
Okay.
And okay, here I'll give you one. This is one you'll probably know the quote. The wonderful thing about Tiggers is Tiggers are wonderful things.
The wonderful thing about Tiggers is Tiggers are wonderful things. Yeah.
That's really cool as hell.
And then okay, let's see.
oh, okay.
How about? Oh gosh, now I gotta. Well, I was gonna say. I'll say.
Yabba-dabba-doo.
Yabba dabba do. Do you have any honey? There we go.
Yes. And then so
yes.
would I do another one back?
Please.
Do you have any
Yeah.
honey? Who would I do? I'm just wondering. Well, wait a second, Doc. Do you have any honey? That's fun.
That's
fun.
that is perfect.
Well,
It's wow.
it's a living, right?
Yeah,
I was thinking
it
about
is.
I never could have imagined being Fred Flintstone as a kid, and so
Right.
pretty cool
right.
to be Fred. And so, but
I
always
can
was
remember
thinking
that when that first came on, I would get up at the end of the show, and I knew because at the end he would always end up
Wilma! Bonnie!
and I thought I was a genius because I would get up and I would point right at the screen and I go, there's his house.
That's his house.
That's his house because there were like 1930 houses on there,
Yeah.
and that's the one. Then all of a sudden you'd see the boom, 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 and I go, told you that was his house. There's his house. Fred Flintstone lives there.
That's it.
Thank you so much for
Thank
coming out
you.
today, brother.
What a pleasure.
Yeah, thank
I really
you.
appreciate
James
it. Thank you all.
Arnold Taylor. Anything we should be plugging before we?
Just JamesArnoldTaylor.com has all my info, and check out my movie Hidden Blessings coming soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right
Thanks.
on.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much.
I hope I didn't go on too long there.
No, God, I don't
Blather
even know
on
what
and
time
on.
it is. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. Thank you for
Oh man,
having
thank
me
you.
on.